Hello, everyone. Dr. Michelini here to talk to you today about integrating sources for your final research paper. So this slideshow presentation covers both integrating your sources, like the quotes that you've selected, and putting them into your paragraphs in a smooth way, and also moving from informative, like taking information from them, into argument or making an argument with them, okay? So let's jump in. So right now you have an outline that looks something like this. You've selected all your quotes from your sources, you have the information, you have your thesis statement broken up into main points in each body paragraph, right? So you either have something that looks like this or like this, if you're using more of a visual outline. And what we're looking to do is take these pieces of evidence, these quotes that you've selected, and really integrate them well into your paragraphs so that they're not just plopped in there, right? And so that they support your main argument. Okay, so let's jump in. This thesis statement is the one from our thesis statement lecture that we revised to get to together. I'm going to read it again. It says, social media influencers of the 21st century have changed the landscape of advertising by targeting American teens. This has negatively impacted teens who are susceptible to this kind of advertising, making them less satisfied with their lives and more likely to suffer from depression and self-harming behaviors. Okay, so this is the thesis that we're working with in the following examples of integrating sources. So this is almost like my guiding light, right? I know every piece of evidence that I have in this paper should support in some way this main thesis statement. So in each body paragraph, though, you have a different part of this thesis being explored or supported. So in the body paragraph we are going to look at in this example, I'm going to take a look at how teen social media use is correlated with depression. In other words, the teens who are using social media a lot seem to be more depressed, right? So I'm going to explore that part of my thesis in this particular paragraph. So I have my thesis and those parts of it highlighted available. I know I'm going to write a paragraph on teen social media use and depression, but that's not yet a topic sentence, right? A topic sentence, the idea of it is really to give an overview of that particular paragraph. It's like a mini thesis for that paragraph. What are you talking about, right? So I know that this just states, it doesn't yet put it in a comprehensive sentence, right? So here's my first attempt at that. I wrote, teenagers' social media use is strongly correlated with depression. All right, so that functions, right? It tells me what this paragraph is going to be about. It doesn't yet transition from the last paragraph, but that's because I don't have that paragraph yet. I'll put in those transitions later, right? So this works for now. You can see how I've moved from part of my thesis into, the topic of the paragraph into an actual topic sentence. But I have a problem, right? How do we know? How do we know that what I'm saying is true, that teenager social media use is correlated with depression? Well, I need my sources, right? So this is the source that I found where I found this out. It's Social Media Influencers in Context, a literature review, okay? Because there are 3 authors here, I only need the last name of the first author, okay? Authors in journal articles are in order of who did the most work. So Castro, we want to give him credit. He did the most work here, or she, or they, and we need to make sure that they get credit for that. So we put their last name here, and then because there's 3 or more authors and we're working in MLA format, we don't have to list the other ones. We can just put et al. This is my in-text citation. I like to have this ready whenever I'm pulling information from a source so that I know where it came from and I don't have to think about that in-text citation later when I'm trying to integrate it into my paragraph, right? So I have that ready here. On page 63, you'll notice I added to my in-text citation here. I found a quote that supports my topic sentence. You can see my topic sentence is still here, right? Social media use correlated with depression. And here this paragraph reads, in a world connected by social networks, it is common to notice a high number of users who show symptoms of depression and anxiety. Released in November 2018, a study carried out by scientists from the Department of Psychology at the University of Pennsylvania with 143 students found that decreased using social networks leads to considerable reductions in depression and loneliness. The research mentions that most publications suggest an intense comparison between the lives of others and the user's own experience. It leads people towards making comparisons between how their lives are and the lives of influencers and social media channels, or the perceived perfect reality they tend to show on social media. Does this support my main point? I think so. I've highlighted a couple of places that I think I could probably use a quote from this, right? A high number of users show symptoms of depression, and decreasing the time spent on social media leads to considerable reductions in depression and loneliness. That supports my paragraph, right? So I'm going to use that. But I have an issue. I noticed that one of the pieces of information that I've highlighted here has a citation itself to another piece. This is not Castro et al., right? This is Hunt, Marks, and Lipson. So by the way, this is APA format. That's why they're listing all the authors. It's a different format, okay? So I need to go and find this piece and see, does this piece actually support what I want to say as well? And can I cite both of them? That is honestly the best thing that you can do, is go back to the original source and see if it also supports what you want to say. So I did that. Here's the Hunt et al. Piece. Again, I've changed it to be an MLA format here. And here's the page number where I ended up finding that information from the other source. Their piece is titled "No More FOMO, Limiting Social Media Decreases Loneliness and Depression." So immediately, as soon as I saw this title, I'm like, boom, this is relevant. I want to use it in my paper, right? And more specifically in this paragraph. So I go to page 752 as I'm combing through, and I find this quote: "Self-reported Facebook and Instagram usage have been found to correlate positively with symptoms of depression, both directly and indirectly." That means that people who use Facebook and Instagram are also typically depressed, and they self-report being depressed, like they're confessing it themselves, okay? So this is very useful for my paragraph, right? So now I have two sources. I've got my MLA citations ready here, last name et al. And page numbers, and I have the quotes that I want to use from these sources highlighted here, all right? So now what I need to do is actually integrate them. And you might actually be at this exact place right now with your outline. If you did a good job finding your quotes and chasing down sources and doing the in-text citations already, you're here. All right, so let's get going. Here's my topic sentence: "Teenager social media use is strongly correlated with depression." And now I can answer that. How do I know? By including my sources at the end of that sentence. I know that this is true. It's not just my opinion, because Castro et al. And Hunt et al. Both said that it's true. Whenever you have more than one source that agrees on something like this, you want to cite them both. All that does make you more credible, because it shows that not just one guy said that this is true, but actually like multiple researchers came to the same conclusion who are studying it. So that makes it all the more true, right? This is like reading laterally and finding many sources that agree to say that, yes, what I'm saying is true. And I found multiple researchers who said that. Okay, so you can cite and should cite whenever you have information like this from another source that you found out through your research process. Also, the way to cite multiple sources like this is to put a semicolon between them, okay? So I have Castro et al. 63, semicolon, Hunt et al. And if I had another one, I would put a semicolon and add that one too, okay? These specific ones are in order of the alphabet. So they're in alphabetical order. So Castro comes first, then Hunt. All right. They're not in order of who did the most work, because they're different articles. Okay. So let's take a look at how we might integrate these. This is a sample paragraph that I wrote in order to integrate this information. First, I have my topic sentence. We're already very familiar with that. But the next sentence, I decided to paraphrase supporting details. You're all familiar with paraphrasing already from earlier in the class, right? But basically what that means is I'm putting it in my own words. You don't want a whole paragraph to be one big block quote. Your words. And when you paraphrase, you have the opportunity to not only use information from that source, but also show that you understand it and frame it so that it supports your argument. So I wrote here, Castro et al. Found that many teens with high social media use exhibited symptoms of depression and anxiety. And it's from page 63, but I put it in my own words, right? Then I have an exact quote to agree. Hunt et al. Agree, stating that self-reported Facebook and Instagram usage have been found to correlate positively with symptoms of depression. And then I have a quote that cites both of them together, because they both use this quote. So it says, moreover, a decrease in time spent on social media also leads to considerable reductions in depression and loneliness. Okay, they both said this, so I'm going to put them both on there. All right. Now, what I've done so far is pretty good, right? I've used my sources, I've supported my claim that social media use is correlated with depression, but I haven't yet told my reader what it means or so what, right? At the end of using a quote or using a paraphrase, I need to explain how this supports my main thesis or point. What does it mean, right? So what? These are just facts. What does it mean? Tell me something about it, right? So here is my attempt at that. I wrote, this proves how strongly connected depression and social media use are. Harmful high usage can be for young teens. Okay, so I am telling my reader what it means. This is extremely important, possibly the most important part of your paper, because people can see a fact differently. You can see a percentage of something and read it one way, and somebody else can see a percentage of something and read it a different way. You want to make sure that you're tying it back for your thesis that you, okay? So after you have a quote, always explain the so what or what does it mean. Notice this is more than just informative. The facts, the quotes, the numbers that you're using, that's information. And yes, you're choosing information that supports your point, but it's still just information. You got to connect the dots for your reader and show how it supports your argument. And this is where we move from purely listing information to argument, or what does it mean, right? You have to explain yourself. Okay, and that's the analysis part. Some additional tips as you go through this is to remember to transition between paragraphs. We didn't do that here because we only worked with one paragraph. But if I wrote another paragraph above it and another one below it, I need to transition by using transition phrases and connecting between my ideas to show the reader what the connection is and why these ideas are in this order. Okay. Secondly, make sure you answer that question, so what or why does it matter? It's extremely difficult, if not impossible, to end a paragraph with a quote in this type of paper. You need to explain what you mean. What does the quote say? What does it mean for your thesis statement in particular? Your thesis is different than that article's thesis. You are writing an original work, an original paper. How does this fact back you up, right? Okay. When in doubt, cite. You will never get in trouble for oversighting something, okay? If you got information from somewhere, cite it, wherever that is, in your intro paragraph, in your conclusion, in all of your body paragraphs, there should be citations, because I expect that you did research, that you found something out, that you didn't just write a topic that you already know or already are an expert on, right? You're a learning person, so you want to make sure that you're citing what you learned, where you learned it from. All right, so now it's your turn. This week, you will dive into moving from your outline and thesis statement into your drafts. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll see you online.